So the most exciting game of week 2, hands down, was that Dolphins-Ravens game. Oh my God. If you are part of Two and On, this is where you break out the tinfoil hat. You were right. You're praising down. You're bowing down. You are not worthy to the greatness that is Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, God bless. 6 touchdowns. I was not expecting. That is his marquee game. Hands down. There's nothing that he's done in the NFL to this point that tops that game. That's his signature in this very young, because it is a very young still, 3-year NFL career for Tua. That game against the Ravens, how impressed were you in that? I obviously, hey, bragging rights here. You know, your boy picked them against the Ravens. I got to get that one in.
This was the perfect outcome, because I walk away from that game saying Baltimore Ravens have the 3rd best offense in the NFL, hands down. Baltimore Ravens behind Buffalo and behind Kansas City, 3rd best offense in the NFL. Baltimore Ravens are incredible. Not only did they score 38 points, they got stopped on the 1-yard line that would have gave them 45 against the really good Dolphins defense. Baltimore is excellent. They have 3 very good receivers. They don't have a true number 1, but they have Duvernay, who is excellent, Rashad Bateman, who is excellent, and Mark Andrews in the middle of the field. Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay coming into this year were viewed as like, ooh, the Ravens have one of the worst receiving cores in the NFL. No longer. Those 2 are excellent. So I walk away from that saying Baltimore, my AFC North pick, excellent. And we got the most fun game of the season, because everything, like the most perfect 2-and-on completion of that game came true, which is the Dolphins had like a 2% chance to win that game. And not only did everything have to break right with 4 Ravens corners being out and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle having more receiving yards between the 2 of them than any tandem in the NFL since Julio Jones had 300 yards back in 2017. It is incredible how great they were in that game. And the Miami Dolphins ended up winning, even though they probably shouldn't have won that game. They ended up winning that game behind the incredible performance. So to that, I say game of the year. Everyone wins. We know Baltimore is amazing, and Miami got to have a super fun performance.
And they go into this one. So we talked about the expectations for Miami in the offseason, right? We made that video, and we were saying, what can the Dolphins do to establish that they're here to be a playoff team this year? And we looked at week 2, and we said that is a big game. That could be a signature game. And obviously it started off ugly for them. Then they make their comeback. And we see that the greatness, the untapped potential is there. The defense, solid, going against a tough quarterback to play in Lamar nonetheless, but they buttoned down. They buttoned down when it mattered most. And then you talk about the offense. What could Mike McDaniel bring to the Dolphins offense? Well, he could scheme guys open. He got guys that were wide ass open. You talk about the corners being out, sure. And you talk about Tyreek Hill's electric speed, sure. But I think it really is telling that Mike McDaniels could scheme guys where there are guys not even within 10 yards of them, right? So all Tua needs to do at that point is display, like Tyreek Hill said in the offseason, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks, or he's the most accurate quarterback I've ever played with. And he hit Tyreek. That second deep ball, okay, we talked about it a little bit in the weekend too. The first deep ball, not as good, but the second deep ball, that was fantastic. But he's going against this week a guy that throws the best deep ball in the National Football League, and that is Josh Allen. Josh Allen, so the Bills are coming off a short week. That is something that kind of plays in this game. But is it really a short week when you beat the brakes off the Tennessee Titans like they did on Monday night? Not even a contest. Through 2 games, the Buffalo Bills really haven't had a contest. And that's saying, okay, I know you don't like the Titans. We'll talk about the Titans in another video. But I think the Titans, they were still a playoff team last year. I don't think they've got that much worse. And then you go back to week 1, they beat the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions. They made it look easy. Actually, they didn't make it look easy. They made it look hard in the first half because they decided to turn the ball over 3 times. And if they hadn't turned the ball over 3 times, what would that game score have been?
It would have been 45-10, and Buffalo would have they did dominate, but Buffalo, they gave up 0 points other than turnovers. They gave up 0 points off turnovers in that game. They gave up 7 to the Titans, and they're putting up 40 a game. The Buffalo Bills are in this same space as the Kansas City Chiefs have been for the last 3 years, which is the entire purpose of the regular season is to get healthy for the playoffs and possibly learn to run the football. But if you don't learn to run the football, it's not the end of the world, because once you come to the playoffs, you can let Josh Allen be your RB1 and let him just be larger than most linebackers.
So let me ask you this, because the line is currently 6 points in the Bills' favor. Do you think Vegas is looking at this and just saying the Bills have just been so damn good, or are they looking at the Dolphins still and with a little hesitancy to buy in?
Well, let's remember that before the fourth quarter, well, I guess third quarter, before the second half of this game, the Miami Dolphins had scored 27 points in 6 quarters. And I know the Patriots game was a little wonky because once they took the lead, they just kind of like screened the ball into oblivion to end the game. And they just kind of like neutered the offense and played ground control. But they didn't really do much in the first 6 games of the season. Their running game has been awful to start the season so far, as I said it would be going back to the start of the year. They just have not been able to move the ball on the ground.
Well, what they have started to do, and I think the Ravens are going to be a good run defense throughout the course of the year. And I think obviously the Patriots are a team that focuses on taking away what your strength is as a team, which I think is going to be the running game. They started to get the ball more to Raheem Mostert. We saw Raheem Mostert make an appearance. He led the Dolphins in carries, 11 carries. I think if they can use him, give him 10 carries a game, that's going to be a successful Miami Dolphins offense. You want to keep him upright, but I think that that's what they're going for. They're hoping for from him.
Yes. I think that they should. I mean, I don't know what you do. I just don't think their running game is going to do great, because I don't think Edmonds or Mostert is a game-changing running back, and even the McDaniels scheme. Although we'll talk about their offensive line a little bit later, but I do want to talk about Buffalo real quick about your question with the line. I do think that this is about Buffalo can put up 30 points with their eyes closed, and they can do it without Gabriel Davis either. So like Buffalo
closed,
is just that
walking backwards. Yeah, that's kind of like what they're looking like this season.
Yeah, Buffalo is totally overwhelming, and we expect that they'll win every game. They won't win every game this year, but they'll be favored in every game that they play. And I think that's just a byproduct of Vegas is always putting the line where they can make money. So it's not about what they think or don't think. Obviously, it's early in the week, so the line will move, but this is about making money. And so a 7-point favorite is about where they feel like they can make money either way. Buffalo is that much of a favorite against Miami because I know everyone's high on Miami right now. By the end of the season, Miami is going to be either like sitting pretty with the 6th wild card, or they're going to be battling it out for the last playoff spot by 1 game difference. There's like a 1 game difference between being comfortably in the 6th spot or fighting for the 7th.
If you needed 1 game, you're happy that you got the 1 game ahead of the Baltimore Ravens, which are going to be another team that's going to be competing in that space. So the Dolphins are doing it right. Now, the big question about this game is you're facing your main competitor in the AFC East. Now, going into the season, we could be wrong. Who knows? I mean, Buffalo, again, they're looking out of this world this year. But going into the season, we thought Buffalo was miles better than the Miami Dolphins. I think the gap has closed. So the gap has closed because Miami is showing that they have the right pieces to compete. If you go into this game, and I'm not saying they win, but you go into this game and you make it a close game, you make it a game that Buffalo has to think about, then that also kind of continues to build on what you're building in Miami. And I think that would be a good takeaway. So if they could get this within the Vegas line of being under 6 points, within 6 points of the Buffalo Bills, I think that's where they want to be. I think that, hell, you know what? Betting wise, I am taking the Dolphins +6. I will take the Dolphins +6, but I will take the Bills to win. But I will take the Bills to win this game. You know,
I know. As much as this is talk about Tua and McDaniel and the changes that the Dolphins made, this I feel like it can be as simple for and again, let's acknowledge there's 2% chance Miami is 2-0. Miami should be 1-1. Even if they get 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns in the second half of that game, they should be 1-1. Let's point that out. But at the same time, isn't it super easy to look at the Dolphins year to year and say, oh, I guess just adding a top 5 wide receiver and a top 5 right tackle, because I will point out through 2 games, Teron Armstead has the 4th highest Pro Football Focus grade of any offensive tackle in the NFL. Isn't it interesting how bringing in a top 5 offensive tackle and a top 5 wide receiver totally changes how your offense looks?
Another point to that. I saw this floating around Twitter. The Dolphins make the smarter wide receiver trade than the Las Vegas Raiders with Davante Adams. Because while Davante may need the ball like 10 to 14 times to truly make an impact in the game, Tyreek Hill only needs 1 to 2 times touching that ball to change the entire course of how you look at a game.
Yeah. So the Davante Adams thing, I think, is too small of a sample size. One, there's no reason he should have only had 2 catches for 12 yards in that Cardinals game, which I will point out, lowest catches and yards total for Davante Adams since September of 2017. But the first game, Davante Adams played well and Derek Carr played shit. Like a late game touchdown is going to make Derek Carr's stats look better, but Derek Carr had like a 34 quarterback rating in that Chargers game. Like he played awful, and that's not going to usually happen. We don't think of Derek Carr being awful. So too small of a sample size for both guys,
but
Tyreek and Davante.
But the point itself, that their play style, I think is the grander thing, that Tyreek has the ability to change the game. And if you're Tua too, you have to feel good about this, man, right? You had a whole offseason, you had a whole 3 years of people questioning your ability. Were you worth the 5th overall pick? Why was this guy taken ahead of Justin Herbert? This, that, the other. You know what? You go out there and have a game like this, it cements your place in the NFL. It shows
Tua.
We talk about what can Tua be in the long run of things. Is he going to be a 10-year starter, back up on another team down the road, or is he going to be truly a difference maker quarterback? Too early. You talk about small sample size. Too early for me to say for sure. But if you're Tua, you did it in your mind, right? You did it on the field. So you
did it one time. Yes.
So in your mind, you're like, you know what? I can beat a team like Baltimore. Why can't I beat a team like the Bills? Moving up the confidence, because I feel like Tua, his confidence had to be at an all-time low as a player. When you're getting benched, pulled back and forth for Ryan Fitzpatrick your first year, and then last year, you have all the Brady rumors, and you have Brian Flores not fully trusting you, and the GM even makes some comments that are questionable about your future in Miami.
Breaking your ribs in the first game of the season.
People question how tough you are, and he's making spin moves, making second, third reads in this game. You feel good about that. And I think that's important. I think that's why McDaniels was the right hire, because this is what people say back to his time with San Francisco, that he empowers players, that he makes people believe in themselves. And it sounds hokey. It sounds like a thing on a Christmas card, or something like that, a Hallmark movie. But I feel like that's important for a guy that, like I said, has had his confidence beaten into the ground like Tua has over the last 3 years.
Mike McDaniel makes people believe in themselves, even though the Dolphins didn't believe in Tua, and the Dolphins also didn't believe in Mike McDaniel, because I will remind people, they wanted Sean Payton, then they wanted Brian Daboll, then they got Mike McDaniel. They was their plan C head coach.
The Rams didn't know what they had when they hired the youngest head coach in the NFL in 2017. Sometimes, you luck into it. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good at hiring people.
I think the Rams were good at the hiring process, and they ended up with a generational coach. All this to say, Buffalo's going to win. Buffalo is going to defeat the Miami Dolphins in this game, and I'm not going to bet against Buffalo the entire season, because I will win more often than I will not. But think about this. We've gone from Tua being the guy who is the most polarizing person in the NFL, and the Dolphins spent 2 years trying to replace him with 3 different quarterbacks, and now the Miami Dolphins might give him the Jared Goff extension.
Yeah, and time will tell how that goes. But you know what? Last year, we questioned whether the Cincinnati Bengals were a good team or not after the game against the Green Bay Packers in week 2 or 3. Maybe this is the Ravens game was their turning point moment. Who knows? I'm going to buy in on the Dolphins. But guys, are you buying in on the Dolphins? Are you buying in on the Buffalo Bills? Where are you going for this Sunday? Who do you think is going to get the win in Miami? Drop below in the comment section. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media. From Juju and Kyle, stay safe, happy, and healthy. And we will see you next time. I don't know what that was. See you next time.